Rick, where are you? Rick flew all the way from the great city of Houston, Texas, to be here. He wants to be here to see the diamonds and these wonderful young men who did things the old-fashioned way. They earned it. We'd also like to recognize Peter Candace, president of Baron Rings. Where are you, Peter? Baron Rings did a tremendous job in designing and producing these rings, as well as producing the video that was shown earlier. And media will give you guys a copy of the video so you can have. We're happy to distribute it to you. Peter and Baron Rings are also responsible for the No One Behind program, which is distribute more than 10,000 rings for athletes across North America that may not have the means to properly have the rings. So that deserves a round of applause. Last but certainly not least, we got to recognize John Dorsey, director, and the producer Andrew Stefan of the 30 for 30. Who saw the 30 for 30? Hands? All right. That film highlighted the contributions of the men here today, as well as those who are unfortunately unable to attend for various reasons. We want to thank these gentlemen that are here today and for being great partners throughout this process. We'd be remiss if we don't thank Virginia Delegate Jason Maris and the Virginia General Assembly, who officially commended the replacement players with House Joint Resolution number 151, expressing the General Assembly's admiration for their determination, hard work, and incredible achievements. Okay, you guys waited 30 years. It's time to get started. It's my pleasure to introduce Charlie Cashley, who served as the assistant general manager in 1987 and helped assemble this squad. He will introduce the men getting honored today, and at the end, we're going to gather everybody up for a group photo. So, and also make everyone available to the media, so please don't leave. So everyone here, please, a round of applause. My pleasure to introduce Charlie Cashley.
This was obviously made for taller people here, but we'll make it through here. I'd like to continue the thank yous of some other groups. First of all, you guys, thank you. Without your contributions, we wouldn't be here. But there's another group we got to thank too. The other Washington Redskin team that played that year. Won 11 games. Beat Chicago in the playoffs as an underdog. Beat Minnesota in the championship game and beat Denver for the Super Bowl in an upset. If they don't win that game, we know we're not here, right? There is no rings. So we have to congratulate that 15-game season that they played. Then there was a Redskin organization in 1987, led by the ownership of Jack Kent Cooke and John Kent Cooke. Hall of Fame general manager, Bobby Bethard. Go ahead. Hall of Fame head coach, Joe Gibbs. And his coaching staff. The one thing we knew at the time that Joe did a great job. I always said that was the greatest coaching job he ever did. But in interviewing you, and I interviewed almost every one of you, it was obvious to you the respect you had for Joe Gibbs. What you told me was your coaches, they took it seriously. By taking it seriously, we had to take it seriously. You told me you came back here for two things. One, to get a second chance. And two, you knew what your job was, to hold the fort until the veterans got back. And Gibbs got so much respect for you in listening to it really, again, and I told Joe that. So Joe Gibbs and his coaching staff, a phenomenal job. And then there's one other group. First of all, Jeff Scott. Where is Jeff? Is Jeff here? Jeff's doing his job is what he's doing, okay? Jeff had a tremendous amount to do with the logistics of putting the research together and ultimately the decisions, not he made, but the Redskins had to make. He gave them the information to be able to make those decisions. Bruce Allen. Where's Bruce back there? Bruce played an integral role in how this thing came together. Bruce called me when this thing looked like there was an opportunity for it to happen. And I said, Bruce, he said, what do you think? I said, well, Bruce, you got to talk to John Cook. John Cook obviously was part owner of his dad in the Redskins. So with John Cook's endorsement and Dan Snyder's endorsement, we got to this point. So I think you should give a big hand for them. Obviously, it took a lot of people to come together to make this. It wasn't just one group. But let's take a step back to 1987, because that's why I'm here, because I was here in 1987. There's a strike. Strike comes on Sunday. You come in on Monday night, most of you. We got 53 players here. We would not have had 53 players here if it hadn't been for Bobby Method, myself, Kirk Me. Where's Kirk? Stand up. Kirk was one of our pro scouting director. And Billy Devaney. The four of us basically out-hustled everybody else and got 53 players in, so that gave the coaches a chance to coach. You get in the bus to come over. First day, you drive over here in a bus. Bus stops. The veterans are here. It was not pretty in the parking lot. Okay? You were on the bus. I was in the parking lot. I got into an argument about Mark May. I said, Mark, I got a job to do. I'm doing a job. Goodbye. That was all we spoke for a long time, okay? But Darryl Grant, how about Darryl Grant? He stands in front of the bus. Now, I've never seen this. We've seen demonstrations. He takes his fist and he breaks a window in a bus. Welcome to the replacement team. Mark Carlsen. Where's Mark? Raise your hand. Mark had this great idea to drive his car over. He came out, his tires were slashed. But what did you do? You didn't go home. You stayed here. You endured. It was a challenge. You took the challenge and you responded. And you bonded together as a team. First game was against the St. Louis Cardinals. 14 regulars crossed. We still had none. The game is waddling along. It isn't much of a game to start now, man. It looks like a replacement game. I'm up there. RFK is only half full. I'm up in the coach's booth. Remember we got Anthony Allen, the veteran receiver, crafty guy. One of the coaches says, hey, let's put Anthony on a post corner and see how that corner from St. Louis covers a move. I think the jock of the corner is still laying off RFK. Rupert makes a great throw. Anthony goes for 250 yards receiving. Rupert throws for 355. That one play was a signature play to me that showed we can go win a game. We go to the Meadowlands next week, 4 o'clock. Some are all mad doing the game. There's like 5,000 people in the stands, though. The Giants didn't put much effort into it. We won it easily. What was a signature moment I remembered in that game? Fourth quarter. They took a shot of the Giant bench. One of their players asleep on the bench. The Giants were asleep. We weren't. Dallas is next. Dallas took this seriously. It was the brainchild of Tex Schramm. He was going to have replacement games and get his veteran stars in there to play them and beat everybody. They were 2-0. You were 2-0. Most of you knew it was the last game you were ever going to play. The last game you ever played. But there was no fear. I got that in watching you, but listening to you. It was Texas Stadium, Monday Night Football, the hole in the roof. This was described to me as one of the people in this room. Tom Landry, iconic Tom Landry, the fedora. Hall of Famer, Tony Dorsett. Hall of Famer, Randy White. Okay? That's what you're up against. Nobody gave you a chance. Nobody gave you a chance. Joe Gibbs gathered you before you went out for the game. Here was his speech. He said, men, this is what you wanted. Isn't this why you came back? Came back to play against the best, the Cowboys. You want their stars to play, and their stars are going to play. You want every other team in the league to watch you tonight. This is why you came back for this moment. I still get choked up when I say it. And you seized the moment. Where's Alec Gibson? Raise your hand. You forced Dorsett to fumble twice. I'm saying nobody ever did it in the history of the game. I don't know. But Alec, that play to me was the same play as the Rupert Allen touchdown. It proved we belonged in that football game. We proved we belong in the football game. Mark Carlsen, raise your hand. Mark told me a story. Mike told me a story. I only got a couple here, but he told me a story. Bugle had told the offensive lineman, we know Joe is colorful, go out and hit him in the mouth. They can't take it, and you know that's how Joe said it. First play of the game, we run the counter trey. We got Brilsey pulling. Brilsey played 12 years in the league. Remember what Brilsey did in the game? He pancaked Randy White, and they showed it over and over again, and we never got sick of it. I'm telling you, watching it. Okay, but they make the pull. Here comes Carlsen. He's coming pulling. He's going to block Too Tall Jones. Now, Too Tall Jones was pretty darn good. He tells me he goes running 100 miles an hour on that pole into Too Tall. Too Tall, don't move. Oh, my God. What happened? But he didn't make the tackle. Mark comes back. Brilsey getting the huddle. I looked there and said, you know what? We got this thing. We can beat these guys. Rush for over 100 yards in a football game. We control the game at the line of scrimmage. And there's Tony. Then Rupert gets hurt. Where's Tony? Where's Tony? Raise your hand. There's Tony. Tony comes into the game. Hadn't played all year. Drives us for only touchdown. Makes key runs and passes on third down. And we score a touchdown against Dallas. But it was the defense that held them to 7 points. You guys won the game. On the 8-yard line, you stopped them, 13-7. I said after the game in the locker room, it was one of the greatest upsets in the history of the Washington Redskins. I still believe it. It was one of the greatest upsets in the National Football League, which you guys did. But what was the significance of it? We were 3-0, 4-1 at that point. The Giants, 0-5. Giants had beat us 3 times the year before. We couldn't beat the Giants. They were dead. The Eagles, Buddy Ryan sat on the bench and read Footballs for Dummies. They were 1-4. They were the dummies. Okay? That lead, to me, cemented getting the division championship. Now remember, the other players had to win those games. Let's not forget them. That put us at home for the playoffs. We never lost at home in the NFC Championship game. Go on to win the Super Bowl. That was it. Now, let's get to why you came the rings. First of all, there are many players that could not make this for a variety of reasons. Thanks to Barron Rings and Uptown Diamonds, all of them will still get rings, and they'll be mailed to them. So let's give another hand for Barron Rings and Uptown Diamonds. All right, the main event. We're going to go in alphabetical order. When I call your name, if you could begin to come up. Some of you, I have comments from the season. Some of you have comments from your post-career. Okay? All right. Obed Areri. On up. Obed was an easy sign. Obed had scored 95 points with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had clutch field goals for us in the Dallas game. And he went back after his playing career was done here, went back to Nigeria and worked with underprivileged people there. Obed, congratulations. Carrion Bigby. Come on up. Carrion had been in camp with us. Wide receiver. Okay. After football, he went to a management position with Home Depot, Target, and is regional director with Rent-A-Center right now. You need it, he's got it. Linebacker Derek Bunch. Derek played linebacker for us. He's been a district manager for Avis for 22 years. Congratulations, Derek. Mark Carlsen. Come on down. Mark Carlsen, after his career with us ended, he went into coaching, coached at Powerhouse Milford Academy in Connecticut for 10 years. And he got his tires fixed anyway. Mark, congratulations. Joe Kofer. Where's Joe Kofer? Come on over, Joe. Joe Kofer, as a special teams player, was as good as anybody in the National Football League. That included every team with their varsity and regular players in it. Joe had an outstanding game against Dallas. He had a sack, broke up a pass, and a couple special teams tackles. The hardest hitter you'll ever find, Joe Kofer. Next up, our long snapper, John Cowan. John Cohn has been a teacher locally here for 25 years, or a teacher and a coach. Congratulations, John. As John's going to sit down, I got to tell you one story about John. I went into a coach's corner. It's a sports bar in Percival. We had moved down that area a year ago. And you know how some people, fans, they get jerseys and they put their name on the back? And you go, God, I can't remember that player. Where the heck he played? And you say, oh, it must be him, right? So I go into this sports bar, and that's in Percival, small town, and there is this framed jersey. And it's got C-O-W-N-E. And my wife and daughters are saying, who's that guy? I don't remember him, and I'm thinking, that count. He's the long snapper for the strike team. So I go to the manager. He says, now that guy Count, wasn't that our long snapper for the replacement team? He says, oh, yeah, he's a coach here locally. So when I saw John before, I said, John, next time I go into Coach's Corner, I want to see something else about this ring. All right, next up, Eric Coyle. Eric, come on down. Eric. Eric Coyle was our center. Did a nice job. He was our leader in the offensive line. Congratulations, Eric. Okay. Alec Gibson. Alec had been with us in the previous two camps, and we're fortunate enough that he came back and played for us in that Dallas game. 2 forced fumbles and a sack against the Dallas Cowboys. Congratulations, Alex. Next up, Alan Harvin, running back. Alan has been a physical trainer, helps out at Temple where his wife works. Alan had been a running back in the USFL with Kelvin Bryant, Stark, and they were roommates together. And Kelvin helped influence him to come back and play. Thank you, Alvin. Defensive back safety from Texas Tech, Charles Jackson. All right, we all congratulations, Charles. We all know that Charles has a flair for the dramatic. And who can ever forget that quote after we beat St. Louis? I am proud to represent the state of Washington. Charles, they love you downtown, I'm telling you. Ted Karras. Coach Ted Karras. Congratulations, Ted. Ted has a family of rings. His dad played for Bruce's dad, George Allen, and his dad has a ring from the '63 Bears. His son, Ted Jr., has a ring from the New England Patriots. Thank you. But this is not Coach Ted's only ring. Ted went into coaching. One of his coaching jobs, he started a program from scratch at Miriam University in Indiana. And in 6 years, he won the NAIA championship. Show him your ring, Ted. Like that. How about that? John Kimmel. Come on, John. John was a linebacker for us. He had played in the USFL. He is a vice president of sales of Lincoln Financial. Congratulations, John. If there's one guy that needs no introduction, it's this next guy, Skip Lane. Come on up, Skip. If I want to talk about a leader on the field and off the field, it was Skip. Let me talk about on the field first. He was a defensive captain and signal caller. He was a crucial member of our defense. Why? Because when 10 days we had to bring a group together to play, And somebody's got to get him lined up. You got that right. And Skip did a great job. He was an excellent player, signal caller. Yeah. Needless to say, a fantastic sense of humor. But on a serious note, who more than Skip championed your cause, fought your battles over the last 30 years? Skip, good job. My last line on Skip is this. Once I got to talk to Skip, we became best friends. He texted me every hour, it seemed. But his best text was, hey, if the Eagles turned it down, call Trump. How about us? Damn presidents in Korea. What the hell did he miss this for? Anyway, in a serious note, Skip has been very successful as a commercial real estate broker for Cushman and Wake. I wanted to make sure I got that right when I read it. All right, Phil Petty, Sergeant, the Sergeant. Ex-Marine. Phil went on to coach in the National Football League with the Jets, coach at LSU. He was a captain for the Cowboys. He's been a trainer. Again, no fear, right? No fear. Congratulations, Phil. Our quarterback for the Dallas game, Tony Robinson. Tony owns his own paint business, but there's a few other things he does in Knoxville. He does radio and television. He helps coach young quarterbacks. And from here, next week, Tony is going to go to Cooperstown. One of his passions is umpiring. He's going to umpire in a national baseball tournament in Cooperstown. Congratulations, Tony. Anthony Signella. Come on down. Anthony started a defensive tackle for us in his post-playing career. 25 years as a high school coach. He's been named Coach of the Year in Connecticut. Coach of the Year in Connecticut. Congratulations, Anthony. Tony Settles. Come on now, Tony. Tony was a late add on my list. Didn't get a chance to talk to him. Tony played linebacker for us. Congratulations, Tony. Willard Sissom. Come on, Willard. Have I got a story to tell you about Willard? And it has nothing to do with the crutches, okay? Willard was drafted by the Denver Broncos, played at Alabama. Congratulations, Willard. Okay, congratulations, Willard. I want Coach Willard to stay here while I tell this story. He went on to coach in college, was the head coach at Morehouse University, where Doug Williams actually was the head coach too. We got Tony out of Canada. Willard. But Willard's job, when we signed him, literally, he was a guard at 7-Eleven in Southeast. In 1987, that was a tough job. For those of you who go to Nats games, you know that 7-Eleven you pass? He was the guard. Well, his assignment on Monday night in October of 87 was not to guard 7-Eleven. It was to guard our quarterbacks. And he had to block Too Tall Jones. Great player. Too tall, 0 sacks. 0 sacks. Somebody asked me, would Willard be intimidated in trying to block that great Too Tall Jones? I says, nah. It was a night off for him. Willard Sissom. Congratulations, Willard. Jack Stanley, a backup quarterback. Jack had been in the 49ers camp. He wanted to play in the World Football League. But I'll tell you what Jack did. He took his playoff money, bought a broken-down pizza place, set up a bar called Jack's Tap Room in Portland, Oregon. Great beer, great sandwiches. Must see if you're in Portland, Oregon. Go there. Hey, Jack. All right, Jack. Jack, did I get that commercial right for you? Is that the way I should said it?
Yeah, everyone, 3 beers, 3 burgers, All right.
Next up, defensive lineman, veteran in the league, had played with the Bears. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Henry. Henry, I called him Wachter forever. Defensive lineman Henry Wachter. Been involved in selling farm equipment for the last 11 years. Congratulations on a great career, and thank you for being with us, Henry. Okay? All right. Home stretch. Linebacker Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson. Eric told me, having played at the University of Maryland, he knew what playing Dallas was. He knew it. Henry has been a special ed teacher and a coach for 31 years in the Charlottesville area. Congratulations. Wayne Wilson, the veteran. 9-year veteran in the league. He came to us after the first game, played with Minnesota, played with the New Orleans Saints. He's been a coach at Shepherd University for a long time, just retired. Locker room presence. He gave us a great locker room presence. His comment to me, I've been in the league a long time, but I never felt more prepared by a coaching staff than the Joe Gibbs coaching staff to play. And I thought that was a heck of a compliment with somebody who's a veteran in the league. Linebacker, David Wyndham. No question, David can plug the middle. Congratulations, David. David has been a successful custom home builder and has worked with the juveniles to help make them better. Mike Wooten. Where's Mike? Mike played center for us. He played tight end in our short yardage package, the jumbo package. He's been a successful banker and a football official and umpire in the ACC for 15 years. Congratulations, Mike. No, I did. Okay. No, I did Eric Wilson. Okay. Jack Wheel. Come on up, Jack. Congratulations. When we were looking for a punter, we wanted to get a veteran punter. Somebody that had already reacted under pressure, that wouldn't choke under pressure. Jack Wheel did an outstanding job with us. He had played with the Denver Broncos the year before. Congratulations, Jack, and thank you. Before we take our picture, we have a special guests that want to say a few words to you. Could they come on in now? And they'll be here for the picture. The MVP, Doug Williams. Right behind him, one of the all-time greats in the Washington Redskin history, Gary Clark. They're here today to say thank you and show their support. Number 72, the all-time sack leader, Dexter Manley. We thought that would be a fitting conclusion to bring you guys together with these guys who are supporting you. Congratulations again. Thank you. We're going to have a picture now. Good job, man. Thank you for coming. Okay. Yeah, who's organizing the picture?